What is going on, everyone, and welcome to Around the Metaverse, our weekly show where we bring together some of the best content creators from the blockchain and NFT gaming space or Web3 gaming community, talk about all the recent news, and give you guys everything you need to know to stay up to date. My name's Adam. I'll be your host today, but more importantly, we've got an amazing group of guests for y'all, as always. A little bit of a hiatus from the show, but we've got a good one for you guys today. First up, we've got Jonny, aka Hustle, founder of This Thing of Ours NFT and Nexus Labs, and host of In the Game on Jonny, man. Happy to have you back on the show, or Hustle. How are you doing this Monday?
Yeah, I'm doing great. I can't complain too much. And it's been a long time since I was on Around the Metaverse. You know, me and Stash did a spicy tier list. That was awesome. So looking forward to this. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, of course. It's been it's probably been at least a year. And
I think so.
It was a pleasure getting to meet you at Art Basel too. So good to catch up and good to have you back on the show.
Let's do it.
Next up, we've got another returning friendly face here for Around the Metaverse. We've got MetaMona, broadcast journalist, news and commercial producer, host of the live show on her channel and the Reset Spaces. MetaMona, thank you for coming on the show tonight. Happy to have you as well.
I am so happy to be back. Here we go on another Around the Metaverse. I felt like I should just grab a drink, come and sit back and nerd out with you guys. So it's been a while. I'm ready. I'm ready for this. Let's do it.
Yeah, I mean, shoot, man.
I should have got a drink.
Yeah, I was about to say crack one open, but if I got you too.
No, that don't count. That don't count.
Some pomegranate juice. No, some pomegranate juice.
Yes, How'd you know? I love pomegranate juice. You saw. I see.
It's pretty good.
I know.
Yeah, it's pomegranate season, everyone. If you didn't know, get your pomegranate on.
No, of course. Antioxidants, man. Full of antioxidants. You gotta eliminate those free radicals. You don't want to be getting sick. But last, but certainly not least, another friend of the show and another friend, who hasn't been on a little while, Fresco, head of business development at what is the Fresco, man? I'm so sorry. What is the?
Can I swear here? I'm already swearing.
You're fired, Adon. That's it. You're fired.
Yes.
Yeah,
it's the last one. You're done. You're done. You're done.
And proud member of the Wolves now. And proud member of the Wolves.
I am a proud. Yes, my angry Yakuza girlfriend. Is the game.
My angry Yakuza girlfriend.
Yeah.
I see the acronym and my brain just farts with the mutant apes. You know what I mean? It's I'm sorry.
Well, you're off the list of whitelists, and I was gonna send you a free one, but
I'm blacklisted. I know.
No suitcase chucking for you, Adam.
I'm blacklisted. I know. It's my bad.
Never.
But we've got a great show for you guys watching out there. Thank you for joining us. I don't know why, but vidIQ is rugging me, and I can't see the chat. There we go.
That's all right.
We've got Gen X Crypto, and we've got Gen X Crypto agent Gen X Crypto in the chat. We've got Captain Jaxie in the chat. We've got John Legend in the chat. We've got Doug Hype in the chat.
Cake.
He's gonna be stealing. Yeah, he's coming with the cake, and he's stealing my job now that I fucked up and ruined Fresco's intro.
We're on the spot hire. On the spot hire. Look, okay, guys. Look. Okay, announcement. And hold on. Let me. Look.
Excuse me, I am the counsel for ADOM. This did not pass through us.
No, you don't got a choice on this one, unfortunately. But a special announcement. You guys got to see this after many years here of ADOM hosting Around the Metaverse. This show originating with me. He is now stepping back as host of Around the Metaverse. This is his last show, guys. His last show that he will be hosting this amazing long running. This is one of the longest running crypto gaming shows that has been out there, consistently doing it for the last few years. And next week, the illustrious and cake-driven Doug Hype is going to be taking over as host. So lots of cake and antics, I'm sure.
If you want strawberry shortcake, Doug is in chat right now.
What have I done? What have I done? I regret it. I regret it already.
What have you done? Do you even know what you've done?
I ruin at least one person's intro every time. So Fresco, it was you today, but I will be stepping back from ruining people's intros for the rest of time.
But you're gonna come see us as a guest, though, no? Like a guest host. Come on, Adam.
An actual guest. He'll be a guest, so he'll be guest spots.
Yeah, and instead of me ruining other people's intros, Doug can ruin my intro as retribution for every time.
Doug.
Perfect.
That's your first job, Doug.
Yeah.
I just want to know, did he pass the audition? Has he auditioned?
Doug is already, he's in. He's in
He's
my plan.
auditioned. Okay. We need to replay his audition tape at some point. I'm just saying.
Ooh, I don't think you guys don't want to see that, but maybe I'll leak it. Maybe I'll leak it next week. We'll see. Oh, it was, it was. Look, like, what we'll say is there were epic highs and rug pulled lows on that
double kicks.
Yeah, it was, but double kicks. Nobody else auditioned, so I was kind of like, all right, sure, you can have the job, Doug. I guess
he brings the cake and he brings the hype. That's all. Those are the requirements, right? Those are the requirements.
Yeah. Brings the cake and he eats it too.
He's gonna be a little mad when and I think I've told him this before, but I prefer pie over cake, Doug.
I do too.
Oh, well, is cheesecake a cake or is cheesecake a pie?
I don't know. Is it?
Because whatever gets cheesecake, it really tips the balance.
I think cheesecake goes into the pie category, bro. It has to, because it's in a pie shell.
Isn't it more of a custard, if anything? But
don't be that guy. Don't.
No. It's either pie or cake, bro. You can't be doing this.
It's more of a custard.
What do you think? All right, we gotta get into the show.
And don't ask me. I don't bake.
Look what happens when you eat cake, man. Look, this is it.
I'm failing again. We're off the rails, but we got a great show for you guys today.
Listen, it's the last show. We can get off the rails. Not last show. I'm sorry. Last hosting show for ADOM. We can get off the rails. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm just excited to talk about clearly what everyone is on the edge of their seats for, probably in chat and here, which is the hopefully imminent approval of a spot Bitcoin ETF or several spot Bitcoin ETFs from many large financial institutions that. Clearly the market, someone might know something. We're, fresh yearly highs here. And then we're also going to be taking a look at and asking you guys what you guys look for in new Web3 games, because there have been there are some games that have been around now for some time, but as is tradition with a bull run, I'm sure we're going to get to a point where every day there is 5 new projects. Creators are going to have, a laundry list of inquiries in their inbound of talk to people about my new thing that is going to be the next I've already seen people saying I'm building the Ready Player One of X, which is the most outlandish claim ever, in my personal opinion, but we'll get into that. First, I want to ask you guys about your thoughts on the Bitcoin ETF, if it's going to be approved, if not, and more specifically, how you think whichever direction it goes, whichever decision they make, how that's going to affect the Web3 gaming market specifically. First, Stache, let me start with you. Just in general, you've been around you're the real OG here in the space. You started talking about crypto even before Web3 gaming, more specifically on just Bitcoin in general.
Yeah.
Do you think the Bitcoin ETF is going to be approved here? And how do you think the market is going to react if it does, or if it doesn't get approved?
So approval incoming. Yes, it's going to happen. Will it, is it going to happen tomorrow or Wednesday? Wednesday is what everyone is saying. And there are a lot of signs out there that actually really point to that being the case, with the fact that, these institutions have started to put out some of the pricing. How much are they going to take? Here's our cut. Bro, you don't start doing that. You don't start telling them how much you're going to take unless it's imminent. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's a decent sign that it's coming here soon. I don't see a reason why at this point that they would really delay it any further, but I'm not saying it couldn't. Gary is a freaking nightmare for one, and is unpredictable. The dude is crazy. I don't know, he's all over the place. And so, with that guy, really anything could happen, but it will get approved for sure. And it's going to send it, man. People are like, oh no, the ETF is priced in. No, it's not, man. There is no way in hell it is priced in. Anybody that tells you that doesn't know what the hell they're talking about, in my opinion. I think it's coming. And honestly, everyone wants to know, okay, great. If it comes, yes, Bitcoin is going to, obviously, I think it's going to have a run up, right? Is that going to translate to the rest of the market? That's the real big question. Because Bitcoin, great. I hold a ton of Bitcoin, so it's great for me. But, is it going to be something that we see really affect the rest of the market? I think it will. I think that, Bitcoin leads the way. Now, it may not happen immediately, right? So we always see this kind of cycle of when there's things that pump Bitcoin, it's a trickle down effect, right? Bitcoin will pump, and there might be a small retrace before you really see alts pump, and then maybe gaming kind of leading behind some of the leading alts, right? So, but I do think it'll happen. I think that an event like this is so big and so wide-reaching, in particular for the trillions of dollars that managers like BlackRock are sitting on. They're like, the floodgates are going to open, man, and that money's going to start swishing around. And so that the money that's going to be pumping altcoins and gaming coins is not going to be the institutional money right away. It's going to be the rest of us that have already been here. We're going to ride the wave while the institutional guys are getting that exposure through that vehicle are going to be hopefully looking just at Bitcoin for now, because they don't have the vehicles to do anything else besides that, right? But shortly after, Ethereum ETF coming.
Ooh.
Well, no, and I was about to say, yeah, like, I'm not in the business of selling Bitcoin, right? I'm in the business of stacking sats predominantly. But right, what Stash is saying is, like, the institutional money coming in, like, this is an opportunity if you actually have a bigger stack of Bitcoin that you've been accumulating, and maybe it's not your long-term stuff. Like, the institutional money is about to become our exit liquidity to a certain degree. Not exit liquidity.
Yeah.
Like,
dump on those fools.
They've
done it to us for our entire lives, bro. Unless you're an accredited investor.
But the rotators are coming, my friend, and everyone is going to see the big Bitcoin candle after this ETF approval happens, and then everyone who's been sitting on a little bit of Bitcoin here and there, or a little bit, a lot of it, is going to move that into, like Stash is saying, into maybe Ethereum or some other, next down the line in terms of top market cap coins, blockchain ecosystems. Those are going to see renewed interest from institutional players too after this Bitcoin ETF gets, assuming it gets approved. And then basically the liquidity wave is going to go from the top down of, like, okay, Bitcoin pumps, people are rotating into Ethereum or Solana or Avalanche. Avalanche pumps, then their ecosystems pump. So all of the small tokens within their ecosystems pump. And then ultimately, even further than that, like, we'll see NFTs and even more speculative stuff start to ride that wave of liquidity coming down from Bitcoin into all these other ecosystems here. But I want to get your guys' opinion on the inverse, okay? Like, if we get rugged by Gary Gensler and like Jim Cramer's out here posting, like, this is never going to happen. Gary Gensler is, like, not going to let this happen. So maybe that's a good sign, right? That this is imminent if, we stick to the inverse Cramer rule, right?
Yeah.
But Mona, let me ask. Well, what were you going to say?
No,
Go
sorry.
for it.
No, I was just going to say, but like Stash was saying, they're way too invested. I mean, if you look at the situation right now, big institutional players like BlackRock and Goldman Sachs, they've basically backed the SEC into a corner over this ETF right now, right? So from my perspective, just like Stash was saying, the chances are actually looking pretty good because of how much money these guys have spent and have invested in Bitcoin. And I feel like this is really for institutional investors, and less for the general public, because if you think about it, if someone wants to buy Bitcoin right now, they can go do so via PayPal, right? I think the transactions are high. I think don't quote me on this, but over $200. The fees are, I think, 1.8%, and then 1.5% over, I want to say $1,000. And so my neighbor, and you guys know I'm a Web3 journalist. So I look at what my neighbor is doing and how much he knows about Bitcoin, right? And my neighbor literally came to me the other day. He's like, I bought Bitcoin. I heard we're gonna have an ETF. I bought Bitcoin on PayPal. The fees were high, but I still bought it. So he's bought it. The millennials can go buy it right now on Coinbase, right? So I feel like the ETF, yes, it's going to bring more trust, and it's going to bring for the normies, right? And the other thing to consider on the big picture is financial advisors, including my own, they're only allowing a tiny fraction of your portfolio or 401k to Bitcoin. They're not, so these baby boomers aren't going to ball out on Bitcoin on Thursday. And again, and millennials like us, we can just go buy it right now on Coinbase. So all that to say, I think the ETF, I mean, like Stash was saying, has a good chance of approval because of these institutional players. If it's approved, it would mean crypto is maturing. But in an event that is not approved because of SEC's concerns about market manipulation, then I really think it's going to change the entire nature of Bitcoin as we know it.
And well, can I ask you to elaborate on that? I mean, if that does happen, like, how does the nature of Bitcoin change in your mind?
I mean, I don't know if they're ready. They understand or they like the concept of decentralization. I think that's the manipulation that they're concerned about. So what does that mean? You know, how do we go back to Satoshi days, or you know, how is this going to work for the mainstream? I don't think they're. I mean, it's a whole conversation to have. I just don't. I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know how this is going to change their perspective. I know we're going to keep doing what we're doing. I'm still going to invest in Bitcoin. I'm never going to stop investing in Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, and I don't, you know, I honestly think this might be kind of a controversial statement in terms of like OG Bitcoiners, let's say, but I mean, there's decentralization is a sliding scale, right? And I think there's perks and pros and cons on both sides of that scale, whether it be super decentralized or very centralized. And you know, I think that, I mean, Bitcoin now has come to a point where it's kind of resolved, or not resolved, but it has, I can't think of the right word, but like when people were saying, oh, criminals use Bitcoin, terrorists use Bitcoin, it's, you know, this decentralized currency that can't be traced. Like, that's a bold-faced lie. Like, Bitcoin is, it's a public ledger that can be looked at very clearly, and things like that. And, you know,
They also use cash, but they forgot about that,
yeah,
right?
Yeah. Well, and I mean, you know, we're going to a world without cash, and let's hope at least
Right.
that.
Why do you think? Yeah, it's harder to track.
At least, and so that's the point where Bitcoin falls. Is like, I think it will be very centralized still in the way that people use it, in the way that institutions use it, in the sense that like all of these financial institutions are probably going to be custodying with Coinbase, for example, except for Fidelity, I think is going to be self-custodying. Yeah. And which, props to Fidelity too. It's just funny. I was like, you know,
God, they're the worst. I can't believe that. God, come on, man.
Well, imagine.
Are you guys Fidelity fans? Hustle, are you a Fidelity fan, Fresco? Come on, man. You guys can't be. No way.
Well, are you a BlackRock fan? I mean, come on, dude.
No,
it's like being a fan of
Bitcoin decentralization fan.
But yeah, in the sense of we're moving to a world where cash is probably going to go away, and in lieu of the Fed coin, right? Let's say USDC or whatever the centralized stable coin is going to be issued by the government or issued by companies working closely with the government. Bitcoin, on the other hand, is a more decentralized version of money that we can use in lieu of what I think is going to be a super surveilled state-run system, which we have with cash today, but there's still that added layer of anonymity with cash. Hustle, let me ask you, man. I mean, more generally too, like I think we're at a point now here where it's safe to say, like, okay, if not, I mean, the bull run is happening. Where we're at in it in terms of the stage of the bull run, I'm not entirely sure. I think we're still pretty early on, but I think it's safe to say, like, okay, ETF is approval imminent, or at least speculating on the ETF, not speculating, but like a decision on whether or not it will be approved is imminent. The halving is coming up. We're already seeing on both the market and on, say, creator analytics on our side. I'm sure all of you guys are seeing this too, a renewed interest in the industry. Like, I think it's safe to say the bull run is here, but I want to get your opinion on, like, do you think this Bitcoin ETF approval is going to take any light away from Web3 gaming? Or do you think like gaming or maybe like DeFi might become one of the bigger narratives for a little while? But I want to get your opinion on, like, where do you see Web3 gaming fitting into the bull run if it really is happening? And do you think this ETF noise is going to take away from that at all?
So first and foremost, when we look at the beginning of this run, I think that it was interesting to see, obviously Bitcoin got a lot of liquidity and then the gaming coins start pumping. And I think that's going to be the same kind of thing here. We'll see the broader Bitcoin, we're going to see a huge green candle when this thing gets approved, right? And as always, the people who are here already invested, they're going to trickle down those investments into altcoins, whether it's ETH, L1s. Gaming's definitely a narrative that I think catches fire in that regard. But as far as like where we are in the bull run, I think that this is just kind of like a prelim, because once this thing launches, I think we're probably, honestly, there's a difference between approval and investments opening up to the public. It's not going to be approval day that everyone can go and invest. There's going to be this little middle ground where I think we do see quite a bit of upside and money moving in the markets into the altcoins potentially during that approval to actual ETF launch date time period. I think the launch date could be the time where we actually see the so-called sell the news event. The news of the ETF coming through, I don't see there's any other way than a huge green candle like we see with a lot of these big news events. But after the actual investment launches, I could totally see that being the cool off period. And then we have the halving, and then we head into what I deem to be the real bull market. Like, I think this has definitely been an ETF driven, news driven sort of a bull cycle, but Web3 gaming fits into this thing. Absolutely. I mean, if you look at the development across multiple industries, AI tokens are great, don't get me wrong, but a lot of them are super speculative. Like, what do they really do? Like, what's the real use case behind these things? DeFi is great, but when you go tell the normie on Fidelity, let's just say, that you got to go pair your liquidity and you have impermanent loss, you better watch out and you better make sure you know, all this stuff. They're like, what the heck does this even mean? But everyone knows what a game is. And I think the strides that the industry's taken over the last few years, it's not going away. And I think the ETF, if anything, could serve as that, you know, middle ground of knowledge to let people know that this industry does have some legitimacy to it. You know, half the people in the world still think that crypto and Bitcoin's a scam, as we've discussed. So if anything, it could serve as a little bit of a middle ground of education to those who need to get over that hump. And then more people will see that there's games built on this technology. That makes sense to me because we've all played games and we've all had those experiences. So that's the way I think gaming's definitely going to play a role in this thing. And the short-term shine might be on the big coin, but at the end of the day, I think that we're going to see the cycle play out like it always has, and gaming will be a pivotal part of it.
I want to jump in real quick. I like what you were saying about the gap between them actually approving the ETF and then that time between, like, okay, it's been approved, you know, how long until they actually open it up to customers and managers can start allocating that direction? Do you think it's going to be do you think it's going to be a significant gap, or is it going to be like, hey, it's open, boom, let's go? Or is it going to be a week? Like, we don't really know that, and that actually is a good X factor to think about. It's a good X factor to think about.
Yeah, I don't expect it to be long. For sure. They want that money.
They have not fought this long to like, all right, we'll wait a month or two till we can open this up for sure.
Yeah. Do you guys think we still have to set up some of the financial infrastructures that these institutions have to have in order to manage those funds? Are those set up already for digital currency, or is that something that, like, for taxes, for example, have they figured that part out?
They're definitely set up for these ETF approvals. Like Adam was saying, you know, Coinbase is going to custody a significant portion of these ETF, offerings, right? And then you know, some
Coinbase stock.
Right? Yeah. Well, I mean, like, hey, you know, I don't know if that's, but hey, that actually may not pump the price of their stock. You know, in general, it could, but they definitely have it. That's a
fundamental. That's a fundamental value thing, right there.
You would think, but you know.
But no, on Hustle, I agree with you too, man. I think gaming is going to be a large part of this. I think we all do, and we'll get into that in our next segment here. And Fresco, I want to get your opinion on this as well. But just before that, it's like, I think what's going to happen here over the longer term with the Bitcoin ETF is, if anything, like at a larger scale, this is going to make our industry a much more stable industry, because I think there's going to be a much steadier flow of liquidity coming into Bitcoin, even through the big swings that we'll still probably see. But I think the volatility of Bitcoin is probably going to start to decrease over time, because now more traditional investors, bigger, more, you know, risk averse investors, let's say, who adopt the just DCA into the top S&P, the S&P 500 or just a couple ETFs or whatever. I'll trust my guy to do it for me. Like those people are just going to start allocating a percentage of their portfolio consistently to Bitcoin, hopefully, and that's gonna decrease the amount of volatility we see, and that again is going to flow from the top down into all of the other narratives and spaces that of blockchain and crypto that exist originally because of the innovation of Bitcoin. I mean, distributed ledgers were being talked about before that too, but Bitcoin is really what caught the public's attention, and let's say, I mean, well, in email and things like that too, which was kind of another like area of that innovation, right? But Fresco, let me ask you, man. I mean, of all of these narratives that are spawned from crypto, are originally spawned from Bitcoin, like, where do you say gaming ranks in terms of like the use case of blockchain technology? Like, do you think that gaming is crypto's best use case, or do you think it is like hard money with Bitcoin and things like that? And why do you think gaming fits where you think it fits?
Yeah, I think it's got to be like super high on the list, if anything, right? And I think because gaming just as an industry dwarfs so many other industries, right? Music and entertainment, film, right? Gaming is bigger than all of these things, right? So everybody has played a game and kind of understands, I play a game, I have gems or whatever soft currency exists within that game. And so it's not as hard of a leap to make to go from crypto that is Bitcoin to I have this token that's in game and I play this game and these things are, the currency I'm transacting with is a token that has like real world value. I think that's a very easy leap to make, especially for like all of us because we've come from gaming. And I think, with an ETF approval and more legitimacy coming to just the word that is like cryptocurrencies, right? Like it's still just like this weird, icky word for people. And I think, things like a BTF approval or an ETF approval for Bitcoin are going to kind of start to destigmatize that to where people who are like us, we're like all of our friends who like, play games, but haven't looked at like Web3 games yet are going to be more open to it. And, it's a really good timing with going into like altcoin season and all these things like Jonny was talking about, that all the games are starting to come out to like having first playables that are way better than like not an early alpha anymore. It's like a first actual open beta. And everybody's kind of planning out their airdrop strategy for a token. So I think like Jonny said, I think the Bitcoin news is going to be awesome. And it's something we've all been waiting for a long time. I think the big generational wealth making run is in alts. And I think gaming, definitely leads that. And I think the other thing we haven't talked about,
it has to be in alts. Yeah, it has to.
Yeah. The other thing we haven't talked about much is like what happens if it doesn't get approved, right? And I think fat dump, right? Like,
oh yeah,
good pump if we get an approval. If we don't get it yet, fat fucking dump, dude.
But like this, okay, so it's gonna, but like so the play here really is it's gonna happen. So like they may do a thing like, oh no, it's delayed again. And because we keep building up these expectations of people saying it's gonna happen, look, here's some new evidence, and then that little piece of evidence goes around the industry, and people are like, oh yeah, it's gonna happen, and then that starts a little bit of like kind of sell the news type of thing, or buy the hype, right? Because you think, okay, this is really gonna pump, and then it doesn't, then it dumps again, and then then we get that rinse and repeat, right? Maybe because these guys want that to be the case, so they can get in a little bit cheaper. And I'm I know a lot of people say that here and there, but that is definitely definitely a strategy. I mean, I think a lot of us would welcome it too, and that's what I'm saying. But don't count that out of that kind of like fake out, right? That fake out dump where it's like we're gonna try and FUD this a little bit and get that good fake out dump, get it below 40K. It was only below 40K for a very short time when we just had that dump here. Like what was it, about a week and a half ago or something?
Yeah, and when you put the tinfoil hat on the other side, sorry, Adam, but when you put the tinfoil hat on the other side, right? At every delay, right? When there's high swings up going into something that we're expecting, and then it doesn't happen because of a delay, and there's a big drawdown. What is that proving if you're like against cryptocurrencies? That it is volatile, right? That it is something that is like a little scary for your everyday investor, right? So I try not to do the conspiracy theory thing too much, but like you can look at it from both ways. Like, do they want a cheaper price or do they want to prove that this is volatile? There's so many ways you can look at it.
Oh, they want a cheaper price, man. They don't give a shit about proving whether or not it's volatile. Like that's a great thing. The idea as a trader, as an investor, a hedge fund manager, any of these guys that are managing large sums of money, to think that like they want a stable asset is not true. They want an asset that goes up and down because you're going to be able to make better gains off of that asset. If an asset is like it just goes, it's way harder. I mean, the percentages you're making are so much smaller, right? You're like, ooh, I got a 1% gain. And then sometimes in the stock market, people are like, ooh, 1%, 2%, 3%, 4%. Oh my God, that's amazing, right? And we over here, we're like popping collars and making dollars in crypto. And we're laughing at these fools because we're like, 20% in one day, guys. Come on.
Yeah.
Well, can I say something, bringing it back to gaming and the correlation between crypto blockchain and gaming and this ETF? Is we can't forget that we came into this space kind of backwards. We came through setting a price and a speculative price when it comes to gaming and saying this NFT is worth this much, and then thinking about the IP, whereas it's usually the other way. You create a compelling IP and then you make it a speculative thing, right? So I think even if the ETF, let's say, gets approved, I think when it comes to gaming, there's no doubt that blockchain, there's so many features in Web3 that gaming could really benefit from, right? So if you look at Web3's feature as features that you could incorporate into your business model, that comes after you already have a compelling IP and it's such an amazing experience that people love it and want to virally share it. We're still missing that, right? So there's no doubt that there are features here that blockchain brings in, whether it's interoperability, whether it's, player-driven economies, whether it's gameplay mechanics, whether it's transparency in rare assets and the assets in the game. But at the end of the day, does the mainstream gamer care? They don't give it. I don't think they give a shit. I don't. They just want a game to play.
No,
And
you're right.
then you, of course, right, you have those Web3 features that you incorporate. So I think even if ETF is approved, there is still work that needs to be done with Web3 gaming to not make it so much about the token first. Don't you guys think?
No, it's true. And I mean,
absolutely.
When you talk about like, well, how many people are going to care? Even if we had all those things and like every Web3 game was fully interoperable and the assets and everything was exactly like your ideal vision, right? If you really like right. What's my ideal vision? And and we got it, right? How many people still would not care? Well, you look at Counter-Strike as a really good example of this, right? How many people play Counter-Strike and don't give a shit about the skins or opening crates, right? Or trading over those crates? It's a good amount of people. That's how it's always going to be. We're not over here thinking that like, oh, every person is getting on board with this. Every person is going to want to trade. Every person is going to try and take advantage and make money. It's just like everything. Same thing with World of Warcraft. There are millions of people that play it, and they play it just because it's a fun game and they enjoy it. And then there's people who are really into the economy and they're legit selling gold on eBay, right? And so you're always going to have that contrast no matter how good the system is. But at least with the system that those things are directly incorporated into, you reduce the amount of scams, of friction, and of like black market deals and of things that aren't authentic, right? Like dupes or fakes or frauds, right? So that is actually a benefit for, at the very least, the people who were going to do it anyways.
Mm-hmm. Well, and not only that, it adds the financial rails to enable certain experiences that haven't been, or certain levers that games haven't been able to pull on before, especially when you add in the component of what a lot of people are like talking about nowadays with like UGC and things like that, where the actual players of the game contribute to the IP of that game. And then like Web3 technology enables, and sure, like games could do this on their own probably, but they'd be siloed systems where maybe you get paid out. Like, I mean, I'm sure there'd be a ton of, I'm sure they could do it on their own too. But this technology, and I'm sure some may end up doing it on their own also. But working with a blockchain to enable like that financial layer in your game has a ton of benefits outside of that, where it's like, especially now we see like the communities that are built around specific blockchains, which you have an opinion one way or the other about like whether or not that's a good thing, right? But I think I would agree with you guys too that like wet gaming is probably one of crypto's best use cases. And I think that we're going to see that come to fruition here in this bull run where, I mean, we're already seeing it, Bitcoin is going to be up like consistently probably over the next year. But I would bet that most of the games, old and new ones that are going to come out, are going to be up on levels of 5 to 10 more than that over the course of the year. And like you guys are saying, alts are where generational money is going to be made. Gaming is going to be where generational money is made. And that's why I want to ask you guys, as experts in Web3 gaming and in this industry, like, what are you guys looking at when you're researching specifically new projects in Web3 games? Like, what are the good signs? What are the red flags you look out for? And, are there any specific things you have like on your mind right now that you're looking at? Fresco, let me start with you first, man. I mean, what are some specific signs you look for? Like, there are a few games out there who have been around for a while, but I'm talking about like the 5 to 10 new projects we're going to see every day. Like at one point in time, Illuvium was a brand new game, a new announcement, a fresh Discord. At one point in time, Star Atlas was. At one point in time, Big Time was. And obviously they've stood the test of time. They survived the bear market, and people are making massive gains because of that, because of their interest in it and their participation in it early. Like, what are you looking for right now that says in your mind is like, okay, this is something I'm interested in, and I'm going to take a little bit of a risk here and expose myself to participating in this?
Yeah, I mean, I think my thesis, like when I look at games, really probably hasn't changed despite the market. It's like what teams and who behind projects has like had a success previously, and who's just moving into the industry here. I look at like somebody like Today the Game, right? It's like kind of like one of the best playtests I've done here recently. And when you look at that team, you know that they're going to be successful in whatever they decide to do, right? Whereas you look at like, I'm only saying this because you brought up Illuvium. I shit on Illuvium all the time. I'm not a big fan of Illuvium.
Why?
He's like, just because you said it, I'm going to bring it back up here.
I wasn't going to bring it up, but like that's a team that doesn't have a pattern of success or a repeated history of success, right? And so like I'm still looking at those teams who just understand gaming and understand how to build games, understand like economy flow within games. And there's a million things you can mess up, and so I'm still looking at the same things I've always been looking at. Like, who are the teams that have shown that they've built something? Who are like true innovators and people building new? I mean, I think as blockchain and AI kind of step forward, it's going to change. There's going to be new genres of games that are built because of this, right? And so, who are people who are thinking? Parallel Colony is a great example. So who's thinking far enough ahead that they're already building the trend that we're all going to be talking about in 2 years, right? And so, I think the best predictions for the future is past success, and most of my investments are based around that. I did pretty okay in 2023 based off that, so I'm not going to shift too far off of that. I'm staying so far away from like the Lyra templates, the stock assets. I kind of don't like when people shit on those games, because they're the reason people use stock assets and stuff, right? You're trying to get a first playable out as quickly as possible, but like I don't really have a ton of interest in like first time first shipped product teams.
And we're going to see, I mean, it hasn't even, the floodgates have only just started to open, in my opinion. Like we've seen, I've seen a few new faces kind of start to pop up, but I'm sure we're going to get like, again, probably 5 at one, towards the peak of this, like 5 new projects, 10 new projects launching every day, And I've even seen this in terms of people's mental capacity of like how quickly time passes and people's emotions. It's already starting to get warped, man. Like it's only been 4 or 5 weeks since.
Oh, Alex,
it's only been 4 or 5
don't
weeks.
Don't forget AI. I mean, every Joe Schmo is going to come out with a game very soon with how fast AI and video and imaging is going too.
The generative side. Well, and I like, Fresco, what you had to say too about what you're looking for, and specifically games like Parallel Colony or Today the Game, for example, that are doing something innovative in the sense of like, this is a game that has fundamental features in it that haven't really been explored before, and things like AI or things like crypto blockchain technology are enabling that to happen. Like the I've said this a number of times. Like anyone who's building there are some great shooters that I think are going to be competitive, like Shrapnel and Off the Grid, for example. And there are some good kind of casual shooters too that I think could be competitive too. But like if you're building a game that could be considered, say, a competitor of like Fortnite or say like Roblox, for example, and you don't have an ungodly unique selling point to that game, something unique that again is being driven by a new technology, something that hasn't been done before. I don't have much faith in what you're doing at all, because eventually, like,
whoa. No, I totally disagree with that. Look at all the games that are successful. They're all incredibly derivative, dude. Every major game right now that has been successful in the last few years is there's no breakthrough anything in those games. They're all incredibly derivative of a game that was previously successful. It's not like, oh my god, there's this brand new feature and this game is using it and now they're gonna crush it and they're dominating.
Are you talking about Web3 games or are you talking about normal games?
I'm just talking about gaming in general. So because that's the real play. I mean, you can say that
there's a layer of with Web3 games. There's a layer of friction where new entrants into those games have to go through the learning curve. And this isn't true for all games. Some games are doing a really good job of obfuscating the crypto aspect of it, which is probably the way to go. But if any friction at all, like is gonna those people, why not just play those other derivative games that don't have to make me learn about what NFT is or download a wallet or anything?
Well, and that's what I'm saying. So having a game that is like, okay, it has crypto and it's also got AI in it too, like that's cool. But is it going to be a blocker? Is it going to be a barrier? Something that's like, oh, it's too much. It's too different. Mm-hmm. Because not only does it have crypto, it also has this weird AI shit. I don't know how to deal with that. I don't have a microphone to talk to it. I'm screwed. Like it's not as fun for me or something. I'm sure there's those people out there. I don't know if it'll be the main route.
Do we have to reinvent the wheel here? Because hasn't the wheel always been choose a game genre that already exists and then just make the best version of it? So in this case, maybe you bring in those, like I was saying earlier, the Web3 elements and features to up your business model. But hasn't it always been that you take a genre that works and you just make it better? Isn't that the success formula?
Better?
Yeah.
Better, yes or no, maybe, but like slightly different, right? Not too different, but just a little bit different.
The saying when you're building games is always copy 80% and iterate 20%, right?
Yep.
But I think that
80-20 rule again.
Yeah. But I think that's what makes some of these games so ripe for disruption is like, I haven't played a new game that feels fun and like a wholly new experience in such a long time. I'm playing 2 games right now, right? Lies of P, which is just Bloodborne, right? Reskinned and with a different story, and it's cool. It's Pinocchio,
it's a good story,
in a dark retelling. Yeah, it's awesome. But the gameplay I've played 100 times before. The one game I'm playing right now that feels kind of new and fresh is Dave the Diver, which is like this really weird indie game where you're like,
it was like
Knock was talking about it. Yeah, Dave the Diver is fucking awesome.
But
it feels like, it feels new. It's fun, and it's like a cozy game you can kind of like sink some time into. But I think that's why some of these genres are so ripe for being disrupted right now. Like, think of if you're like a real-time strategy. Like, I grew up on like RTS games. There hasn't been a great one in a long time. People are still still the best ones are StarCraft 1 and 2, right? So, like
Age of Empires.
Age of Empires,
I like the turn-based strategy for historical, like the Risk style. That's my
Civ style.
Yeah.
And Civ, I think when you implement like quality like AI into a game like Civ, I think can make the game a lot better. Because sometimes when you're playing Civ,
that'll be fire, bro.
So you're playing like a game like Civ now against AI, it's trash, right? And then you play against people, and they're way too good because they all playing against other people, so it's hard to get good at Civ, right? Yeah. So I think that is what makes some of these games like so ripe for being disrupted right now.
Okay. Yeah.
I think everything you guys are describing is really, you're describing a compelling IP. And I think at the end of the day, if you don't have a fun experience on that compelling IP, and what I love about Web3 and what I'm seeing more and more is Web3 is really a playground for all of these brands, whether it's gaming, DeFi, whatever it may be. And what's great here is that you can get market proof that your IP and your game is interesting to the market right here in Web3 before you go out in the wild. And I think Web3 is really a great pre-launch ground. It's great to test your game here,
Good way to
test
look
your
at it.
assets here. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No,
go
just
ahead.
that's a good way of looking at it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that why not test it here? Test your gameplay here. You can do your beta testing here, attract your followers, make people fall in love with your IP here, and then go to market. And your pre-launch marketing here is much cheaper too. I mean, there's so many influencers like yourselves that love to talk about and are dying to see a good project. But again, at the end of the day, if you don't have that compelling IP, I don't think it's gonna matter. But the good
May I,
news is you can test it here.
may I please have a whitelist, sir? May I please, I'll market your game for whitelist, please, sir. Please, may I have whitelist? Yeah. No, but I agree with you, Mona. And shout out Gen X Crypto, one of our lead agents in chat, who just dropped a ton of subs for guys watching. Congrats if you're one of the viewers on YouTube with us here who got one of those subscriptions to our agents program. Make sure you hop in our Discord after the show so you can sign up to get your perks and things like that. Or I don't know if they're senior agent memberships or elite agent memberships, but in any case, hop in the Discord and start chatting with us. We'll run you through what that membership gets you and start hanging with the agents and getting all that secret intel that we're going to be dishing out here. But Hustle, I want to get your opinion on this, man. As someone who's been around as long as everyone here, if not longer, on the show, what are two things? What are on the other side? What are some red flags you look for with like looking to, researching and looking at new Web3 games specifically? And then when you're doing research on Web3 games, like, are there any specific tools or data that you're looking at to say like, oh, hey, like maybe this is something that I want to like take a look at here. Like this was a signal in my mind that, yeah. Hey, hey. We're excited for what he just insinuated.
So whenever I look at a game, first of all, I think what Mona said is correct. Like, it's a good testing ground. But one thing I think that is also kind of unfair to the game is everyone in Web3 thinks everything looks good. It's way like, yeah, so many people are afraid to say it's bad.
People's bags are tied to they want their number go up, right? Don't criticize if number go up.
Pump my bags, Hustle. What do you say? Don't stop saying that, man.
See, I think that's the only problem. Like, you can get great feedback loops if like your people are honest, but unfortunately in Web3, people are always tied to the monetization side. So sometimes their reviews might not always be honest, and it's a little more frowned upon to be negative than it is positive, the wag me culture and all that. But the red flags, I mean, there's so many. Like, that's another thing. I think there's just so many you can pick through, right? I want to see a quality team, but also if you're claiming your team was with Epic Games, Riot Games, Activision, this, that, and then I go look and find out like you had a role as a engineer on one Call of Duty game 10 years ago. How much did you really contribute on a staff of 500 developers building out this multi-billion-dollar game? Probably very minuscule. So overselling your background, I think, is a huge red flag. And then for me, like as someone who I care about the tokens, I care about the economic stability, because just like I said at the beginning, people are tied to that. We've seen it over and over again. Game's good while the price is up, but while the price goes down because of the economics, game's all of a sudden not so good, right? So it needs to be sustainable. So however your in-game currency or the in-game economics go, I think that's really important. The ease of onboarding to me really matters now. I used to not care. I used to not care because, we're crypto people. I'll connect my MetaMask if I know it's a reputable game, right? But the average person, if they download a mobile app and you're like, oh, connect with MetaMask or Phantom Wallet, they're like, what the heck? I just want to use my Apple ID. So onboarding to me is a big thing at this point in time. Being free to play, like token gated games are great, but I think that the token gated side of it should just give you a boost in some sort of way in the economy rather than prohibit you from playing the game entirely. So there's a lot of different ways. Like if you bake in the token gated side to play it and you have to have some asset, that's when you start getting into the Is it in my head, it's like, that reminds me of the Ponzi games of the past. You can't play unless you own assets, right? So at least give them a sliver of the game. And then if they like it, they will go deeper into the economy. So lack of ease of onboarding. I hate whenever people oversell the team. I hate whenever there's no gameplay. I'm not going to lie to you. This might, they're killing it on the open markets right now, but Overworld, what is the game? What does the game look like?
Hey. We were just talking about my bags, Johnny.
I got a bag. Too, okay. I'm looking forward to it, but I'm being,
No, you're right. They have no gameplay. They have no anything about the game. It's just like a lot of hype.
So, there's a lot of things out there that I think we can improve on the way that things are presented. And I love seeing gameplay. If you can show me what the product looked like, that's first and foremost.
100%.
And, I'm bullish on Overworld. Don't get me wrong, but it's just interesting. We haven't seen the game, right? So those are some things I look out for, to be honest.
Solid.
What Jeremy Horn, what he pulled off with Overworld is the same. I forget the guy's name, but what was it called? Digi Daigaku or something? The Super Bowl ad that happened.
Oh, Gabriel. Yeah, Gabriel Obion.
Yeah, those guys took literally. It's like the same thing that happened, right? It was like super hype. Like everyone was all about it. Oh my God, Super Bowl ad! Like we're doing this crazy thing.
Okay, hold on. I will say in Gabe's defense, now what he kind of did was pivot after that, and instead of trying to make a crap game, which is where things seem to be headed in that direction, he actually decided to like revamp and create a brand new ERC 721-C standard, right? That is a new standard that has advanced features. Right, and I thought that was actually pretty cool, and it's a pretty well thought out standard.
We're using it.
ERC 1155 was a great step, and this was kind of the next evolution of that. I see, and so I'll at least give him credit for that. Now,
Overworld's using it.
A lot of people are using it now.
Don't give him complete credit for that, because I believe the whole debacle about enforced royalties first came to fruition on Solana. And then I think it was Magic Eden that worked to create a standard with the Solana network to enforce royalties, which is very, very similar to the new
Magic Eden one of the first ones that also said people don't have to pay royalties, or am I wrong about that? I could be wrong about that.
So what happened was there was
What had happened was is
that not the right way to say that?
No,
it is. That's a perfect way of saying it. Say it again.
If you know, you know.
What had happened was, so there was this project called Yaw on Solana. It was a P2P NFT marketplace it goes a little bit above my technical understanding of the matter at this point. But however they built their marketplace circumvented paying royalties to creators on Solana, and enabled people to trade without having to pay creator royalty fees, which then had a kind of game theory effect where all marketplaces were losing out on volume because people were trading on Yaw with zero fees. So they were like, we got to get rid of fees now too, so we can recapture some of the NFT trading volume that's happening. And then obviously that played out for a little while, and we've come to settle on the fact that royalties should be a thing with NFTs. At least that's what it seems like the market is telling us now, right? With the fact that Magic Eden had this is what's been adopted on Solana, and now it's been adopted on Ethereum too. But that's what's. I forgot what were we talking about before I started talking about
Red flags.
Well, but I mean, in general, we were talking about Gabriel and how you're kind of akin it to Overworld. But let's move on from that, because I think we said our piece.
Yeah. All right. And we've been running on this one, man. We're deep in the show, running out of time here, and there's still more to talk about, I feel like. So
a lot of hot topics.
Who haven't I touched on for this segment yet? I think Stash still needs to go, and I think I got to hit you, Mona, too, right? So
sure. Stash, go ahead.
Stash. Yeah. Well, I was going to say, what are some are there any specific projects that you Stash are looking at right now? Or any older projects maybe that you think are still going to see a renewed hype in this next cycle?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the same things I look for in a new game, Hustle already kind of covered. Like, what are the red flags? Look for these things. I will say, in kind of contrast to Fresco, I'm not always just going to bet on a team that has previous experience. Like, I'm okay with there being with betting on the underdog sometimes. It obviously really comes down to what they're producing and what they have. Like, do they have gameplay? Are are the elements there? One of my big red flags I will say, which I want to say, is the website, man. So many times I go, like, a project has got all these other things going on, Twitter, Discord, they got tons of people, and then you go to their website and it's like rife with spelling mistakes and just horrible design. I'm like, how are you going to be, this is your home.
Have you seen half of the Bitcoin Ordinals websites?
I know, that's what I'm saying. And people are pumping millions of dollars into these things, and I'm like, man, this is your one place on the internet that you have full control over, right? It's not a Twitter or a Discord where something could happen and you could be pushed from those third-party platforms. So that's one of my pet peeves. But as far as like new games go, obviously it's hard because a lot of them are not going to have gameplay. But I'm always looking for a game that, like, man, if they do, and it's a game that I can sit there and lose 2 hours to, but really think it was only 15 minutes, that's how I know I have a winner. That's one of my biggest things, man. And so there's a couple games that happens to me, like Wildcard. Man, when I play that game, I can play for hours, and it literally only seems like it was 15 minutes. So there's a couple of games that are like that. Say a Dead Drop as well. I can get into that game, and it's super fun. Mega Weapon we played the other day.
Winner over there, yeah.
Yeah, Mega Weapon we played the other day was a lot of fun, man. And that kind of like feeling as a pure gaming instinct. Now, if I can get that from the game, then I know the token is also going to be good if it has all the kind of other right signs, right? Because that is what's going to beget wanting to have to use that token in some sort of manner within the game, because people are addicted to it. They want to keep playing, and if the token allows them to do that better or longer or whatever it may be, then that token is going to be successful in the long run, right? That's one of my big indicators when it comes to like new games that I'm looking for and things I'm trying out. I want that feeling of like, man, I'm sucked into this and I can't get out.
Mega Weapon was fun when we played that the
yeah
week. I think you'd probably say the same for like My Pet Hooligan is another regular on the
Golden
show.
Ties was another one I played recently. I love. Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
And so I'm excited. I want to play Cap and Company with the Agents fan, because that one to me seems like a Sea of Thieves type of like a fun like
low poly Sea of Thieves. Yeah. Chibi Sea of Thieves.
Mona, let me get your take on this before we move to our lightning round, because this is a great show, man.
We're going a little pay, man. This is your big send off. We can go as long as you want, man. All the guests are like, damn, I thought I only had an hour.
More alpha for you guys. Sorry, go ahead, Mona.
I'll say this, and I mean, this is in a way my 2024 mission, because I mean, my role in this space is to break down your technology for the mainstream audience. That's why I came into this space as a journalist. So this year, I am going to, if you come on my channel, if you're a founder, and I've already had one, and I am going to ask you hard questions. Because I am done being nice. I am done being like walking, on eggshells, trying to piss people off. I think this year you either come in or you're out, right? So if you're coming on my channel as a founder, you're going to have to answer some tough questions that the mainstream audience are going to want to know. And for me, at this point, the red flags, and I'll go cousin Colton on you guys. If your roadmap is not clear right off the bat, à la poubelle, in the garbage. If you're overemphasizing financial gains, à la poubelle, in the garbage. If you don't have a community at this point, what? À la poubelle. If we've never met your team, in the garbage, à la poubelle. If the promises you've made to your community at this point are still unrealistic, in the garbage, à la poubelle. What else do I got for you? If I have to have a bachelor's degree to set up my wallet, à la poubelle. If there is no free-to-play option, what? À la poubelle. If I need another bachelor's degree to to play your game, if I need to know aeronautics, à la poubelle, I'm out. And lastly, if I didn't have a blast playing your game, à la poubelle.
Dang,
MetaMona.
you just cut out like 95% of everything going on right now. You're just like, I'm going rootless this year.
Yeah, throwing down the
Damn.
gauntlet for all of you out there. Any founder or get Jeremy Horn on, because I want him to answer all of those questions. I want him to answer all those questions. No, but
I'm not kidding.
I couldn't agree with you more. Honestly, my 99% of actually 100% of games fail. 100% of games fail over time, and there's nothing different about this space. I'd say probably 101% of games are going to fail in Web3, because my thesis in the long term is that honestly, all of this is just a proof of concept for the big studios to eventually adopt the new. Like, there might be a few studios who have this be their moment where they become the new titans of industry in gaming. I think that is possible, but I think by and large, almost every single game here that we're talking about today, almost every single one is actually every single one will fail over time. But how long it's going to take until then, that is really the ultimate question.
That's all games. That's what I mean. Yeah, in general. So I mean, like, okay, great, blanket statement, great, yeah, sure. All games eventually fail. Who cares, right? But what it comes down to is that no, and one of the interesting things that I've been talking about actually quite a bit is designing a game to only last a certain amount of time, right? And I think we've seen some of these limited gaming experiences, and I think that's going to be a very popular thing in the future. I think we're going to see more and more games do this, just because of the decreased development time. Right now, because games take so many resources and so much time to develop and so much money, they have to last for 5-10 years, hopefully, because then that's the only way you can recoup your money, your investment. But with AI, if you can spin out a game that is actually top quality, like AAA, in 6 months, then does a game need to last 5 or 10 years? Probably not. And maybe even building it not to is going to be is going to be more beneficial, right? So versus like right now, what we see with every other consumer product, this trend is funny, oddly enough, not in gaming because of the fact that they can't manufacture games fast. But now, cell phones, cars, TVs, every kitchen appliance, everything is built not to last. It's built to only last for a few years. Why? Because we can produce them very quickly and cheaper as we go. Games are getting there, and that is going to be a big trend in gaming. So when you talk about that, yeah, like Web3 games will go the same path. They're going to go the same path, but could they lead the way there?
That sounds sad to me. That sounds like a sad future.
I mean, yes and no, because you think about people's attention span, right? It's so short these days.
Bingo.
So why not?
That sounds even more sad.
I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm not saying it's a good thing, but it's going to happen because it already is.
Yeah. People play a game over and over and over and over and over, and then they're tired of it and they want something else.
Yeah, what's the new flavor of the month, man?
Gen Z.
Turning out where AI is turning out games like that. I worry the quality and
the quality be better. It'll be so look. The quality's gonna be so much better even than what we get now because of AI. It's gonna be stupid simple to do this, and it's all gonna revolve around story, right? So Fresco was talking about. I'm sorry, what the Life of P, right? So. Everything is going to be story because everything will be at the level of like super AAA. Anybody can do it. So then what it comes down to, how engaging is the story? How engaging is the multiplayer aspect of these things, right? Like the social aspect of it, right? Those will be the biggest driving factors when the development cost and the quality costs are so stupid low that literally I could do it. My 13-year-old daughter could do it. Anybody could go and do it. It just comes down to like, do you have a good idea?
I think
and
that's
don't forget.
I think that's sorry, Mona. I think that's the differentiator there, though, where it's like AI, generative AI in game design is going to make building the game easier in terms of, like generating the 3D assets, implementing the code and things like that. But and this is something that is very much lacking here in Web3, and part of the reason why many of these games aren't fun is studios that rely too heavily on generative AI for their game and don't put the care and consideration into building a story, building lore, building a world around that game that people are going to enjoy. Those are the games that are going to be low quality and suffer. But ultimately, it's like it is in an MMO, the most important thing is the content. Is they spend hours and hours and months to years building out these new expansions that is literally solely. I mean. They introduce normally new game elements every expansion, say like World of Warcraft, different abilities and things like that. But the main focus of these expansions is to add to the story of World of Warcraft. And like AI will help speed up the process of building out and will maintain or even improve the quality of actually designing the game assets, building out the world from the like actually 3D modeling and that standpoint. But I don't think relying on AI will help improve the lore and the world building aspects of gaming.
I don't agree, dude. I'm telling you,
I mean,
once you have a concept, you can
NPCs
run
will
with it.
blow up, Alex.
I'm
NPCs
just
will blow up because people, and that's why I'm very metaverse. I'm to
know.
this day very metaverse bullish, because it's going to come down to experiences. People are going to want to experience things when they walk in, they go into a metaverse, right? So, and people said, you know, mainstream said, oh, metaverse is going to replace our lives, and that's not the case. Metaverse is just going to add a layer, a digital layer to the experiences that we have IRL. So when you go into a metaverse, and soon you're going to have, I mean, a Vision Pro is coming out for $3,500, right? In 4 years, that might not.
We already know it's trash, man.
I mean, I was already saying, like, what? I'm going to be plugged to the wall. How am I going to dance in the nightclub at Decentraland? But anyways, that's a whole different conversation. But imagine being able to interact in the metaverse, go play a game, and then you're interacting with NPC characters, so you can actually have a conversations with them. You don't think that's going to be completely like blow this whole thing up once you can have those experiences and interaction inside the game?
Well, and taking that step further, you know, think about having a custom GPT, right? That is trained on everything that has ever transpired in World of Warcraft. From the beginning of the game, every storyline, everything that is considered canon and even outside of canon, and can conglomerate all that together into one giant thing, and then be able to spit out brand new storylines and things, and that you know, maybe they still need some adjustment by a human, but can do that. And the amount of data that it can process is going to be vastly more than any great writer or great storyteller that you're going to be able to like hire or do whatever, or even a team of them, right? So like there's so much there. I mean, like there's so much to unlock, man, and that will be the driving of it.
I hope that's the case, man. I hope that is the case. I just worry that we're not there yet. That's for sure.
No. We're in the early stages. We're in the very early stages of just testing it, trying it out, seeing how it works. But like Fresco said, today the game, like that was a cool experience. That was the first, like, you know, go in and talk to an AI powered, you know, avatar, and you can, and they're talking back to you in real time, and they make sense. You know, it's not like just gibberish, right? And it was like actually pretty cool. I renamed my NPC to Professor Pressure. I don't know if you guys saw that stream, but I gave him the same kind of look as Professor, and I was like, I'm renaming you to Professor Pressure. And he was like, okay, that's a cool new name.
Well, all right.
Exactly. And technology doesn't have to immediately solve problems. I mean, come on, like people need to give us a break. It doesn't. How long did it take for iPhone to finally?
The World of Warcraft writers are tired, man. Let GPT come on in and do the job for them, man. They're tired.
Sheesh, it's freaking tough around here.
Bobby Kodak ran them through the ringer, man. You know, they need a break. They need a break. But no, we're way past time now, but that's okay. We still got one lightning round for you guys, and this will be a good one for our first show here in the new year. For our lightning round to end off the episode, to end off my last time hosting this show, I want to ask you guys what your biggest goal for 2024 is in Web3. We're going to go in order of Hustle, Mona, Fresco, and then Stache. Hustle, you're up first, man. What is your biggest goal in Web3 or in crypto in general? If you have a bigger goal, I guess that's the same thing. But what's your biggest goal for 2024 in the space?
Definitely. I've been working on a software product that kind of consolidates all the data you need to do your research and find your way into these games. I feel like for a newcomer coming into the industry, finding the information on these games, they don't know the websites to get all the data. They don't know all the sources. And especially scrolling through OpenSea, some of these games have 6 collections. They're going to stumble upon one that's a fake collection and then inevitably have a bad experience, get drained, and then they're never coming back, right? So building out Nexus Labs is my real priority this year. I really want to get that out. We're going into alpha this month, and then our full launch in March. So really excited to get that into the public. all the analysis you need on tokens, NFTs inside the games, statistics, daily active users, information, how to play, be able to hop in directly on the platform. And we've partnered with some pretty cool projects over there. So, we've built a community, we have the content going. I really want to get a product out there and kind of make that the holy trinity. So that's my focus for the year 2024.
Nice. And what Hustle is referring to is his platform called Nexus. It's linked under his name in the bio. So you guys go check out that Twitter page and keep up on that, because I do think when we got a sneak peek of it at your place, Fresco and I did at Art Basel, man, we appreciate that, and it looks really spectacular so far. So
wait, was it? Is it? Okay.
Oh.
I was making sure the promotional check cleared after we.
No,
right, we're good. Yeah,
we didn't. This is not sponsored. This is not sponsored by Nexus. Let me make that perfectly clear. But
hey, you asked me what my goals were.
No, it's great. No, I love it. I'm excited to try it. I've been asking you like multiple times, like, bro, put it in my hands. Bro, put it in my hands. What's up?
We're actually we're going into our early access next week. So I'll have it in your hands next week, Stash. I showed them in this very layer, got some good feedback.
It's true. All right, Mona, you're up next. What's your biggest goal in Web3 for 2024?
Yeah, I mean, I came, as I was saying earlier, I came into this space educating the mainstream audience, and I wanted to really break down the Web3 technology for them and where the value is and where even the risks are. And I did that for, a year and a half. Now I'm partnering with someone that we all know, but I'm going to let him do the announcement. He just started a media company here in Web3, and we're collaborating. And what we're going to do, we're going to take it a step further, and we're going to actually work directly with brands and help them break down their technology for their for the mainstream audience, to help them on board. And we do that by building original content and help with distribution. So at the end of the day, the mission is still the same. It's educating, but now I'm going to work more on this side as well, helping brands to translate their technology and help onboarding.
Awesome. Well, we look forward to seeing that come to fruition here in the new year, and wish you the best of luck as always. Fresco, you are up next, my friend. What's your biggest goal for 2024 in Web3?
Pretty simple on my part. I just want to use my voice a little bit more. I think I have a very unique background in the space of somebody who's built and started to ship a couple of games, across a couple different projects and working on products. So I know what it's like to build games, know what it's like to publish and kind of start to get them out. But my start in Web3 was really just as a community member and, kind of being a DJ like anybody else. So I feel like that's given me a pretty interesting take on the space and where we're at. And I think, what we need to do to take some steps forward. So I just want to use my voice a little bit more and, doing content and doing some more spaces and things like that. And I just want to be big enough to get into early access for Nexus. So
you got it.
That's
goal accomplished already.
Yeah.
There you go. You already got one down, man. One down.
Yeah, you're on the right track already, man. It's only been 8 days. Shit.
We're starting hot.
You're better off than like 90% of everyone who's already,
failed going to the gym. Yeah.
Gone to the gym once. All right, I'm done. All right, Stash, you're up. You're last but certainly not least, man. What's your biggest goal in Web3 for 2024?
So my biggest goal this year, I thought about this a lot. It's literally to crush every single other creator in this space so they feel downtrodden and they don't even want to compete against me and they just give up. That's the biggest goal. No, okay. Maybe that's not the best goal. But look, I'm going to try as hard as I can to be consistent. That's really my biggest goal for this year, is just be as consistent as possible. It is sometimes hard for me to be consistent and not, I have a crazy busy schedule, but consistency is my largest goal for this year. Outside of that, expansion. We're expanding the GIA. And what we're doing with this brand and with this agency. Today, we just announced our very first, creator that is going to be on my channel from now on. So you guys will be able to see Agent Moneyplane doing review videos and talking about Web3 gaming on my channel as well. And we have a couple of the agents that are lined up that are going to be, added to the channel too. So you're going to start to see more people more agents here on the channel talking about all the things you love in gaming.
Also, what Stash forgot to mention is that
Keep an eye out.
I've been hired in the fashions department, and we're going to have merch coming very soon in 2024 for ladies and gents.
True. Yep.
Hey,
Contact
my
me.
fashion.
The Secret Agent Stash Funko Pop is I think a leading
Yes.
item in the possible.
So many people are like,
merch.
is this real? Can I get it? Because I posted like right when everyone was doing the AI Funko Pops, and like, is this real? It looks so good. I want one right now. I was like, "God, man, I could probably sell about 100 of these right now.
No.
We're doing merch.
Wait. What about you, Adam? We got to hear
what
from
about
you.
you?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
All I was gonna say, we'll do me just let me say first, keep an eye on what you're saying, Stash, because tomorrow Agent Moneyplane is going to be dropping his first video, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, first video on the channel going live tomorrow.
Adam, I'll ask the question. You've been with Stash for I don't even know how long anymore. We can't.
Almost 3 years.
Like 3 years.
It'll be 3 years.
Wow, it went by so
April.
fast.
Next April will be 3 years, or this coming April.
Went by,
years.
That went by so fast. When you look back, what were some of your biggest growth moments, and then what are you looking forward to in 24?
I don't, when you say biggest growth moments, I'll be perfectly honest and say that there wasn't any like one moment that was like, holy cow. Like, at the end of the last bull run, we took Stash's channel from the beginning of the last bull run to the end of the last bull run. Stash went, we took the channel from like 19,000 to just under 100,000. And in that time, there's been a lot of iteration. There's been a lot of calls every week where we talk about things like what type of content we should be making, how we should be making content, looking at the data on YouTube about what other people want to see. It has been a lot of trial and error to get to, and a ton of awesome learning experiences and like stuff that I had never been, exposed to before. I come from sales outside of this. I came initially onto Stash to help him with his web design company. And then with the, context of okay, let's get to know each other a little bit more. And then you can kind of help with the crypto side of things. And I'll give you a little bit more responsibility on that side. And we've had a lot of talks even at Owned with the creators we work with at Owned, who are just kind of starting along the same path that Stash and I were on 2 years ago. And they're like, man, how do we find someone like Adam? And I'm like, you find look within your community. Look within your community, because that's where I came from with Stash. Look within your community, and then when you bring someone on to help kind of scale your operation, when you bring someone on from your community, delegate in levels, right? So give them a little bit of responsibility at first, get to know them, see if they're they live up to the expectation that they gave you initially. And then from there, give them a little bit more responsibility. They'll ultimately probably learn some things from you, which is what happened with me. And now, 2.5, almost 3 years later, part of the reason I'm stepping back from this is to focus on my own personal brand a little bit more. I'll be a regular guest on this show, hopefully. And then, this isn't crypto, but you guys, many of you guys don't know this, but I run an e-commerce business outside of here. And for me, that was the big, this year of growth was during the bear market. We with Stash's team, me and him are the last two of what was 5 people at one point, almost, I think. We had to cut people back with the bear market. Even I had to take a little bit of a we're gonna look, we want to keep this thing afloat, right? So it was I had to start another business, which was ultimately a growth opportunity for me too. And I wouldn't have been able to have the security of being able to just do another business without Stash allowing me to stay on when things were not great, over the last 2 years. So we're wrap it up. I'm getting the wrap it up.
No, this is great.
I know.
No, that was
I think he was bowing to you.
Yeah.
that was the royal bell.
I thought that was the hook from off stage.
No. When I need to get. That's the way to cut it.
But no, I think we've done a lot. I will say this: the person who brought tier lists to this space, I wonder who
sorry.
suggested that.
I'm
I
sorry.
wonder who suggested that to Stash. I was looking at an Asmongold video. They were doing a tier list, and I was like,
Yeah, we were looking for new ideas, and then so you know who to blame. It wasn't me. It was that guy.
Yeah, it was me. But
now everyone hates.
We're I think we're in for another awesome ride this year, and keep an eye out for me again on the show as a guest. And then as we sign off here, everyone who's still sticking with us, all 46 of you, thank you for hanging out. Thank you guys in chat for being here with us. I hope you all had a great new year. Before you sign off, make sure to subscribe and like, and then head to the comments to check out all of our guest channels. Subscribe to Hustle, subscribe to Mona, subscribe to Fresco. Check out My Angry Yakuza Girlfriend, because I fucked up Fresco's thing initially, and it's also linked in his bio below. And I'm sorry. I apologize. But that is all for.
Okay. You'll have to face me at GDC. I'll get my payback.
Yeah, all right. We'll find a little secluded spot in Shrap Night tomorrow, and we'll 1v1 each other.
Nice. Yeah, there we go.
Hey, don't worry. Cake has 30-day trial. We'll let you know if it works out in 30 days.
Okay.
I may come crawling back, Adam.
Yeah,
I may come crawling back.
Please,
give it up, Doug.
I appreciate working with all of you guys, being able to meet all of you guys, everything you've done for me, Stash, all the support, like Fresco, Mona, Hustle, you guys have expressed for what we've done here, and what we're all doing collectively. I think we're all gonna have a great year this year, and I'm excited to go forward with you guys. But that is it for Around the Metaverse. Catch, I don't know, maybe not me, but the rest of these, at least Stash and Doug, next Monday at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, and then catch me in the chat, because I sure will be there.
Trolling.
But that's it for tonight, folks. We'll see you later. Peace out.